And we welcome you back to another episode of Inside Boxing Live. I am Dan Canobio, and he is the world champion. I noticed I've been saying former world champion. You're not a former world champion, Chris. Once you win a world championship, you're forever a world champion. So forever world champion, Chris Algieri, as our co-host every single week here on Inside Boxing Live, powered by ppv.com. Hello, Chris.
Hey, Dan. Yeah, I've been corrected on that one a few times myself because I used to say, like, I had said that before, and I had other champions be like, no, you're a world champion. Like, leave the former out of it. And I was like, oh, okay, just got it. Yeah, it's a fraternity. It's a very tight-knit community, and once you're in, man, you're in. You're in. And I beat a real world champion. I didn't win a vacant title against some nobody. I beat the guy who beat the guy.
We were just talking about that. I was talking about that with Evan Korn, top rank PR man. He was talking about how he was there that night. And I was around a lot of champions this weekend. We'll get into that on the show. I was hanging out with Tim Bradley. I was hanging out with the top rank crew. I was hanging out with Naoya Inoue. So a lot of fighters this weekend. Amanda Serrano. Awesome weekend in New York City. Capped off with Xander Zayas getting a decision win over Patrick Teixeira. Bruce Carrington is in action. Fights all over the place. But before we get into it, this episode is brought to you by ppv.com, as is every single episode. We're heading out to Las Vegas next week for Tank versus Frank Martin.
Couple days away.
Couple days. Wednesday, I'll be flying out there. And PPV sends us to these fights, and they allow us to do great content. They allow us to bring you, the fan, into the experience. So order the fight with ppv.com on Saturday night, and our code and our link is in the bio of this YouTube and also on iTunes. No subscriptions, clear streams. You know the deal by now. Live chat. I'll be in the live chat alongside Jim Lampley, Lance Pugmire. So we're chatting all night. So it's a pretty cool experience. So you can watch the fights. You can ask Jim Lampley a question. You can ask me a question. Pretty damn cool. If you ask me, no subscriptions and all that jazz. So go ahead and order Frank versus Tank, Benavidez versus Vadzik, Saturday night with ppv.com. I'm excited for that card. We're barreling towards that. So that's the next big one this next Saturday.
Well, it's always exciting when we go out to Vegas for these fights. But this card in particular, I think there's some actually really good fights. It's great to see David Benavidez back. You know, we are a huge fan of him here on our show, Inside Boxing Live. And, man, we've been loving Tank forever. And, Frank is legit, man. I think this is a very, very real fight. I'm going to look at these odds as we get closer. I don't know. I might throw some money somewhere weird, see what happens.
There you go.
Vegas, baby.
There you go. Vegas, baby. Use the DraftKings Sportsbook app if you're going to bet on this fight. Yeah, I am excited for this matchup. I'm excited to talk to Gervonta Davis. I've never interviewed him one-on-one. We're going to have some time with him. I'm going to do what I do with the mini mics. I'm going to get him to say some crazy stuff. I'm going to ask him some silly questions. I'm going to ask him some real questions. Same thing with Benavidez. I've interviewed Benavidez a bunch. Just want to see him in person.
He's
get
great.
His aura. Yeah.
I've interviewed David a few times. He's awesome. He's
awesome. He's so media savvy, man. I remember I interviewed him way back. So
respectful, so smart. He's got it.
I remember I interviewed him way back in the day. Like I'm talking like first 20 episodes of this show. And he was in his gym in Seattle, Washington, and he had like the most pristine setup for me. He had like the background had all the heavy bags lined up, and he was mic'd up. He had good lighting. I was like, damn, this guy gets it. Because most of the time when I was interviewing fighters back then, it was in a car. They were laying down in bed.
You get this angle from down here in the car where they're like
the upshot of the nostrils,
the upshot,
no
in
microphone.
The they're looking around
Bro, the car interviews were the worst. The only one I ever tolerated was when I finally got Tyson on the show. He was in a car, but he was so happy to do the interview, so it was fine. It was kind of okay. But early on in the history of the show, I used to book 3 guests per episode, and it would drive me insane.
That's
like hard. I had Lampley, Deontay Wilder, Tracy Morgan. Like I'd have like Danny Jacobs all in one episode. Like spread them out, Dan. What were you thinking back then?
Dan, what are you thinking? That's a lot of personalities to coordinate. When I wrote my book and I had to interview 17 total champions, it was like a nightmare to try and get scheduled. I can't imagine having multiple in a day. Jesus.
Oh, bro, that's another thing too. It's like, can we do it at 11 a.m.? And they're like, well, my fighter doesn't wake up till like 1 p.m.
You're right.
And and I learned how.
Was that
yes, yes, exactly.
I knew it.
Keith Connolly was like, bro, he's like, Danny doesn't wake up till like noon. Like, so you can't do anything earlier than noon. I'm like, bro, what? Noon? Like, You tape the show at 10 a.m. And then
He
I
also
learned
doesn't move very fast when he wakes up either. It's not like it's like all right, just got up, he's ready to go. No, it's gonna be a little bit.
learned that fighters, I wouldn't say lazy, because obviously you're not, because you have to train, but like you guys move at your own pace.
Yes.
You don't have a team, you don't have a game, you don't have practice, you don't have an organization like the Yankees, like being like, where are you?
I got a quick story. It was right after I won the title and getting ready for the Pacquiao fight. And I was doing some interview. I don't know who it was. And they were like, hey, man, what's like the day in the life of Chris Algieri? Like, what time do you wake up? And I remember vividly being like, I wake up whenever the fuck I want. I'm a world champion. And they looked at me like,
exactly.
Cool. Yeah.
Fuck yeah. But like the point is like the sparring session's not going to start till you show up. The training session's not going to start till you show up.
The main event doesn't
they're
start
all
till
waiting
you show
on
up.
you.
Everybody said like, yeah, when I was the main event and like I always came through the arena super late. I'm like notorious in New York for coming super late because they want you there like 2.5 hours before. I'm like, no, I'm not sitting around for that long. So I would sit in my hotel where I was comfortable and I would come in very last minute and they freaked out all the time. They're always calling my phone, like calling my manager. Everybody like, oh, where's Chris? Like he's coming. Relax. I don't fucking care. I'll get there when I get there. Also, I'm the main event. The show doesn't go on until I'm ready. And if they're trying to push me in like they warm up fast, I'm like, nope. Take my time. This does not happen if I don't fight. So
I love that. Speaking of borderline egos, I met Naoya Inoue.
Nice.
I wouldn't say he has an ego, but the man, he moves like I'm the number 1 pound for pound fighter in the world.
Wow.
Like I told you guys all week long last week, and like I'm gonna watch him. I saw him at the fighters dinner. I'm gonna study him. I'm going to just get a feel for him because he's this guy that's almost like folklore.
You know what? He is the number 1 short king in the world.
Yes. I'm a short king myself. I'm a short king myself.
When you said I was
aware.
watching his every move, I'm like, Dan's learning about short kings. I get it. Get it.
I've been a short king my whole life. Short kings are in right now. He probably is. If you go worldwide,
number 1 short king in the world. No doubt about it.
I will say he's not that. He is short. I was expecting him to be smaller. He was wearing like those sneakers that almost have like platforms on them.
The Balenciaga, like huge heel sneaker things. Yes.
Yeah. Which is a short king move. It's almost borderline cheating as a short king. Just accept that you're short. Don't. Who do they call it? Raise. Like there was a Seinfeld episode about that. Lifting, they call it. Don't lift.
Yeah, lifts.
It's like PEDs for short kings. Anyway, he just got it, man. Like I met him at the boxing writers dinner. Got a quick selfie with him. He accepted his award. He was very gracious, but he also had a massive team with him. He kept leaving the dinner to like go into some side room. I don't think he really likes attention, which is I understand.
I can see that.
I don't think he likes all the hoopla because literally everyone was there to see him. And then I saw him again Saturday night, which I just love these New York City fight cards because they're fun. Number 1 with Top Rank. And I got to hang out with Joe Tess up on the stage at the set. We talk about almost anything. We talk about anything but boxing. It's just like about like life and food and relationship stuff and just life in general. He gives me career advice, and we're standing up there actually on the stage at the Garden, and then Inoue comes in to do his interview with Kriegel, and this is when he had a real aura about him. This is like he walks in, gets on the set, shake his hand, size him up once again. Just the guy's the man. Inoue is so cool. It was great to have him in New York City. It was good to see him do interviews. It was just like cool to see him because I feel like I said, like he's just like this folklore at this point. Doesn't do a lot of interviews. Don't really see him a lot here in the States. Doesn't fight here in the States. So whenever he speaks, you almost kind of have to stop and listen with what he's going to say.
Yeah, listen. He is a superstar over where he's from, and him coming over here is a big deal, obviously. And I guess it seems like Top Rank is trying to match up the Bruce Carrington and Naoya Inoue fight.
I talked to a few people at Top Rank, and they were like, I was like, is Bruce going to call him out after? He didn't call him out. He like bowed to him.
Yeah, that's all he did, the bow thing.
It was a cool little moment, but a couple of guys that I was talking to at Top Rank were like, well, yeah, we would like eventually. Like, there's nothing wrong with like a really slow marination, but Inoue's not leaving 122 anytime soon, and also I don't think Carrington's ready for that. Even Top Rank guys were like pouring a little bit of cold water on that.
Yeah, no shit. the kid has 12 fights, 13 fights. What are we doing? Yeah, it's just interesting to have him come out. This weekend at Puerto Rican Day Parade. It's I guess maybe because of the writers' dinner. I don't know.
Yeah, because he was getting the award.
Okay, so that's it. So all right. So it's more circumstance than anything, but interesting to have him over here. And like I said, he has a massive. He's like a rock star in Japan. Japan's a pretty small place, and for him to put 55,000 in Tokyo Dome, for him to be the megastar that he is, getting everyone over there, and then to come here, of course he's going to carry that aura with him. He is the man.
Yeah.
He lives in he's Godzilla. Like he's like not to get like
Dude.
all. Not to get racist on him, but it's like, yeah, you are Godzilla. You are the monster from the island of the East, and now you're here. You're going to carry that air with you.
Yeah, he did, and the top rank guys that were there, I was asking him, will he ever fight here in MSG? Will he fight in Vegas again? And they're like, there's no real rush. I mean, he's putting 50,000 on a Tuesday,
That's what I
50,000 on a Monday.
I did that in an interview, and they're like, oh, someone on one of our shows on Pro Box, they were like, oh, anyway, has to come here to be. And like, I think Sean Porter said that. I was like, no, he doesn't.
Yeah, he got in trouble for that.
No, he doesn't. He brings 55,000 people into his home. It doesn't matter. 55,000. We're not doing that here. Nobody's doing that here. He does it there. We need to go to him. He's the man.
Exactly.
Simple as that.
I did some. It was a busy weekend. I did some ESPN documentary that's going to come out later this summer. And there's a whole episode on Inoue, and they were just peppering me with questions on him. And one of the questions was, will he ever fight in this? Does he have to? I'm like, no, he does. He's like Canelo Alvarez of Japan. Like, he's a cash cow. Like, there's only a few cash cows, and he's one of them. So, like, I don't hear.
I'm gonna give you some pushback. He's not Canelo Alvarez of Japan. He's Naoya Inoue of the world.
Yeah,
like he's a bad man. Like he's
right.
How many division world champion, undisputed, over and over. 55,000 is a big deal. That's like those are numbers. Those are numbers that are really hard to touch. Yes, Canelo did it in Dallas. He did like 70 something like that, or I think it was 74. But whatever. When you
that was like more of a one-time event, though.
Right. This guy's going to be able to do this over and over again. Like, we're dying to go out there. I hope he stays in Japan, so we have a reason to go out there.
I think he will. And just to stop the Inoue praise here on the show. Yeah, I don't think he has to fight anywhere outside of there. And I don't see Stephen Fulton. I don't see Louis Neary complaining about having to go over there and make their career high paydays. So that was the weekend from a personal standpoint. It was awesome. I love when the fights come here into our backyard. Love that. Let's talk about the fights. Xander Zayas picks up a unanimous decision win over Patrick Teixeira, dominates Patrick Teixeira. I put a stack, the biggest bet money-wise of my life, on Zayas to win by knockout. I thought he had a chance in the 8th round.
Dude, why don't you talk to me about these bets that you make?
You know what? And I saw Teixeira coming into the arena. Me and him were on the same security line. I once again spent a whole weekend sizing dudes up. I sized them up on the security line, and I'm like, all right, I feel good about this bet. Pause. I was like, I feel good about this bet because I didn't like the way he looked. I didn't like the way he looked all week. He is just so herky-jerky. He's so herky-jerky. He knows how to survive. Zayas doesn't have that killer instinct just yet. I don't know if he ever will. We'll get into that in a second. But Zayas wins. He dominates. He picks up a win over a former world champion. There's still questions in my mind about Zayas. I think he's damn good. But is he like Virgil Ortiz good in terms of power? Is he Tim Tszyu? Is he ever going to get to that level? Is he on the right trajectory? What do you think about Xander Zayas?
Well, I'm gonna talk from a position that I have that no one else has. I sparred with him, and everyone asks me like, how's the power? How's the speed? I'm like, none of it was out of this world, but his jab was very good. And his jab, I thought, was the most solid punch that he was able to touch me with during that session. And I'm like, this guy's a boxer. And if he can go out there and just not fall in love with what he's been trying to do and trying to knock everybody out, because he's had a pretty good run recently. But I think at the world-class level, which is why I would have told you with Patrick Teixeira that he was going to go the distance. Didn't matter how he looked. Because Teixeira has been around for a long time. And he's fought some really tough guys. And he's been stopped. But normally he gets stopped by guys who are super explosive. Or no, the only person who stopped him was, Curtis Stevens, who's a super explosive guy, and he did it early. And I've seen him hurt early too. So it's guys that are really fast out of the gate that give him problems. Otherwise, he's very solid. He's a durable guy. He's big for the weight class. He's a southpaw. So I would have told you, well, I would have went against the knockout for that one. And also knowing how Xander is, I don't see him as being a massive puncher or one of those really explosive guys. I think he's a very, very solid guy with decent power. But for me, he's a boxer. He's got to go out there and use his jab and use his combination punching. It's one of the reasons I like him, because we're not similar in some ways, but we're similar in other ways. In some ways, because he's a combination puncher that builds off the jab, which is what I did. Yeah. So I really like his style that way. But I don't foresee him knocking out a lot of world-class guys as he comes up. He's just not that kind of guy. I'm not saying he won't. I'm not saying that that's not going to happen at times. I just don't think that he's that kind of fighter. I think he's much more of a boxer-puncher style. That he's not Felix Trinidad. He's not going out there and blasting guys.
He's not.
He's not Miguel Cotto.
No. Right. He's
there's nothing wrong with that. Guys. You don't have to be. You don't have to be those guys. He can be at top of the sport. With the style that he employs. I mean, we've seen tons of guys that were not killer punchers be the top of the sport.
Yeah, I mean, he doesn't have to be that. The crowd, I wouldn't say it was like restless, but they were kind of hyped up for after the Carrington knockout. They were hyped up, and then they were looking for that knockout. I mean, they are. Like, let's be honest here. Like, they're Puerto Rican fans. They're accustomed to Tito. They're accustomed to Cotto. Zayas is the newest guy, and he's the latest to headline at the Garden. Top Rank is putting all their efforts into this kid. Yeah, he's 21 years old, but we've seen him now for such a long time, like 5+ years. And sometimes you can just, all right, this is what this guy's going to be. Like you said, will he score knockouts? Yes, probably. From attrition, body shots, is he going to be like a one-punch knockout guy? No, and that's, like you said, Chris, that's totally fine. If everyone fought the same in boxing, if everyone had the same exact style, it would be the most boring sport in the world. We need different styles. We need different personalities. He's still a work in progress, but he is moving along in the organizations. He's moving along in the rankings. He's top 10 in a lot of these organizations. Definitely WBO, which is really
rightfully so. At 54, absolutely. Right.
Yeah, because he's been fighting. He's been stepping it up every fight, and now you beat a guy in Patrick Teixeira, who 33 years old and
former world champion. Doesn't matter.
Former world champion, and you went 10 rounds for the first time in your career. So you're progressing, and you're going to get some of these names soon. Like, they're bringing up like a Josh Kelly at 154. 154 is super intriguing right now because you have Crawford in it, who's number 2 or 3 pound for pound. You have Tim Tszyu there. You have Fundora. You have Spence lurking. You have Virgil Ortiz. You have any guys that are coming up from 154. It's a very interesting time, and everyone still looks at Zayas as like a prospect for some reason, but he's really not anymore. Same thing with Carrington. Like, these guys aren't prospects anymore. Like, they're in the top 10 of these organizations. Like, they're going to get title eliminators soon, and we're going to see Xander in there with punchers. We're going to see him in there with top contenders. I'm interested to see how he deals with them. Did you see Top Rank sign Vito Milnecki?
I did see that. Interesting.
But he made it a point to say on the telecast that he is advised by Al Heyman. So Al Heyman is his manager, and Bob Arum is his promoter. I would love to hear a conference call between that team. Yeah, it is pretty fucking. It is badass. He was there last night. Cool kid, 20 years old, whatever. But he could, they could build up a Zayas versus Milnecki.
Interesting to see a Top Rank sign a Paisan. Got a lot of Italian fighters with Top Rank.
Guido Villanelli.
Villanello,
sorry.
Yeah, Villanello. But he's a heavyweight. You're gonna sign a heavyweight, no matter what. But Top Rank is pretty particular about which kinds of fighters they like to sign. Puerto Ricans for the New York, Mexicans because they put on great fights and they have great fans. It's been kind of their recipe and formula for a very long time. But they have been branching out. You're seeing a lot more black fighters in the Top Rank stable, especially these young.
Now we got White Magic. Vito Milnecki was wearing a necklace that said White Magic.
Wow, White Magic. Okay.
Yeah.
If I was gonna really play the white thing, I would have been White Shadow from G.I. Joe. Remember White Shadow, the ninja?
Bro, I wish you could like restart your career and just like really tap into like the just everything and like a persona, because you were not not a persona guy. Like Buffer's like calling you the fighter, called you the fighting collegian. No offense to Michael Buffer. Yeah. Come on, I didn't like that. I didn't like that nickname at all.
No, that's why I didn't really run with it. Michael Buffer gave it to me, which makes it cool, but otherwise it's not a great nickname.
Right.
But yeah, no.
But if you were if you were to restart, would you be the White Shadow?
White Shadow. If I was gonna really push it, like something like that, I'd get White Shadow. I'm hard to hit. I'm white. Like I'm cool.
You're white. I love that, bro. I wish I would. Let's just do it in your second life. The White Shadow doesn't exactly hit when you're a media member.
That's why my nephew Michael, who you were hanging out with last night as well, he's going to be the second coming of the next stage in the Fighting Algiers. So he's got
Shout out Michael Algieri, who's like literally just the coolest customer ever. Just a cool cat. Like he reminds me of my nephew. I just love sitting with him. We were talking boxing. We were watching some of the fights coming up. He's very respectful of the other fighters. He's not a hater.
No,
he looks like he just is just a respectful kid, and I love that kid. Mike Algieri coming up. Mikey Algieri, Mikey Carlos. Shout out, Carlos. Go follow him on social media. So we'll see with Xander Zayas. I thought it was a workmanlike effort. I thought it was smooth. I thought his combination punching was nice. Body work was there. He did try to go for the KO. I do respect that, but it's hard when you have a guy that's in there surviving. It's hard when you have a guy in there's herky jerky.
Teixeira wasn't trying to win either. That's really tough to stop those kind of guys.
I wasn't trying to win. He was so herky. Like he was trying to just disrupt the timing of Zayas and trying to hear that final bell. I lost some money, but just money. Just money, Chris. Right? Just money.
Just money, dude. Just money. It comes and goes.
I lost a few bets. I lost a few bets. I've won a few bets. Like, I still have that Loma stoppage that a couple guys brought up last night. Shout out.
I love you're always have that. Your wins.
Well, someone brought that. I think Joe tested because I was like, "Oh, Joe, I put a stack on Zayas," and he's like, "Oh, I love that Loma stoppage win." I was like, "Thank you, I appreciate that." And shout out to all of our.
I won big on the Usyk beating Fury. That was my big win for the year so far.
Shout out to all of our loyal listeners. I met a lot of them this weekend. A lot of IBL listeners out there. Such a cool thing to interact with fans, and we're going to plan. We're starting the early stages of planning some stuff, some more meet and greets as the fight schedule starts to open up a little bit. And we're going to figure out where we're going to be. August 3rd in LA, we might do one. Texas, it looks like there's going to be a bunch of fights in Texas this fall. We're going to really try.
I like
to do
Texas.
That.
I like Texas a lot.
Yeah, let's see what it's got to offer us. I'm sure there's a ton of like huge bars where we can.
Looking at Dallas, Houston, which one? Both.
Well, Spence Fundora is supposed to be Dallas.
That'll be Dallas. Dallas is super
Pacquiao.
Cool town. I hope we have some Texas listeners. We love you guys. I love you guys. Dallas is a great town. I actually thought if there was any other place that I would live, other than when I was leaving New York and getting ready to move anywhere else, Dallas was a place that I was considering. The problem is no ocean. That was what really snapped it for me. That was the only difference.
We're Long Islanders.
Yeah, dude, I got to be by the water. But I love Dallas. Great town. I love to visit it. A lot of history, great food, good culture. Dallas.
I don't know if you're like how much you're on Facebook. I don't really go. I just part of my routine of checking apps. I'll just click. Facebook
dude, I'm old. I'm not that old. Come on, Facebook.
Yeah, but like it's in my rotation of apps that I just routinely click on throughout my day, and I just click on it, see some kid from high school that I hadn't seen in years, but also like it'd be like, look at this house in Dallas, Texas. That's $300,000, but it's like 50 bedrooms. And it's like unbelievable acre of land. It's like you too could be living here. I'm like, what's the catch? And then like in the comments, it's like, it's in the middle. It's like next to a freeway or something. But there are people who live in Texas.
You already missed the boat. I wish you would have bought a house in Tampa like 2 years ago, because I was looking out there.
That's when the time to do it.
I was looking out there and I was like, oh man, my money goes a lot further on that side than this side, because I was already, I already had my place on this side of the of Florida, of South Florida. I was like, Tampa, I can really stretch it out, but it's just. I don't know. I missed that boat.
Bubble
too.
burst.
Bubble burst.
I think it's Tampa.
Florida's over, dude. It's over. This is Florida. Everyone knows Florida's awesome now. Everything's expensive.
When I think of Tampa, though, I think of strip clubs.
Yeah, they got. Yeah, we'll think of. I'm wearing a Pro Box TV crew shirt, but the Pro Box TV girls.
They all work there.
I don't know if they work there, but they're coming from Tampa for sure, and they're
okay. Yeah.
I
remember going there as a kid for Yankee spring training, and then like looking out the window as a 13-year-old and seeing like just like 5 or 6 of them stacked next to each other, and like, oh wow,
a lot of hot women in Tampa.
That's interesting. I don't have a segue. or we're just going to talk about Bruce
Don't need
Carrington
one
now.
for that. That's an ending right there.
Yeah, I don't have a segue. I'm just going to talk about Bruce Carrington now. He had a eighth round stoppage. Shoot. Slow start. Got tagged a little bit by Brian DeGracia, who was a late fill-in, but was in shape. I think was supposed to be on the card. Could be mistaken there. Whatever. He steps in as a late replacement for Vivas and pushed Carrington in the beginning. I thought Carrington came out a little sluggish. Found his rhythm, though. Gets the stoppage in the eighth round. He bows to Inoue. Inoue waves. Then Inoue left, which was kind of badass. Inoue didn't even stay for the main event. He left. I thought that was pretty cool. Carrington
he's on a very different time zone, and he was there, for other things. But
yeah, I think he was tired. I think he was done. I think he wanted to go watch the end of the Yankee-Dodgers game because the Dodgers are in town and they have Ohtani and they have the new pitcher. So he went to the not to get back to Inoue, but he had a whole weekend Inoue. He went to the Yankee game, boxing writers, blah blah blah, doing the whole gamut. So he leaves, but not before he has a little moment with Carrington. Though slow play that. I've talked to the top-ranked people. They're not trying to make Inoue Carrington next. Believe me. Because Carrington is still a work in progress, but 126-pound division is for the taking. It is ripe. I think Carrington can get in there with any of those guys. Will he next? No, because I still think there's no rush, even though he's 26, 27 years old. But Luis Alberto Lopez, would Top Rank make that fight? Nick
Tough
Ball
fight.
is beatable. Ray Vargas is
I love
beatable.
Nick Ball, man.
I like him too. I just think his style is it's not like he's not defense first. Like
I think that's actually a pretty good fight for Carrington. Of all those guys you mentioned, I think stylistically that's probably the best. I still don't think he's ready for that just yet, but yeah, that would stylistically probably the best bet.
Right, and then you have guys like Ray Ford who are moving up to.
I don't think we're going to see Ray at 26 anymore.
Well, I'm sorry, I was wrong there. But there's names at 126, and then there's the old guard. The British foursome that fights each other every year, the Lee Woods, the Warringtons, that whole crew. They're aging out of the division. I just think it's time for Carrington. He's 26, 27 years old. It was an impressive stoppage, I thought. He still got the stoppage. It's not like he labored through the rounds. And we're like thinking, oh, great. Not a great performance on opening up the show on ESPN after a UFC fight night. I like the kid, and I think it's time to move him. He wants, just like Zayas, is top 10-ish in like all these organizations. So therefore, it's like he's up against it. But I actually think, not that I have to compare Zayas with Carrington. I just think Carrington's ready for 126. I'd be curious to see if they'd ever put him in there with Lopez or the Espinosa kid who won that title over Robesi Ramirez, or even Robesi Ramirez. Like, there are plenty of names at Top Rank for Bruce Carrington.
Yeah, well, I think the comparison is not all that crazy to think about. The difference is the age, right? Because Zayas is 21, Carrington's 27. And if you look at the weight class, Carrington, it's a lot of tough guys, but it's a lot of fights that I can see happening. Like you mentioned Ray Vargas. I'm looking at it right now. Someone that we haven't talked about on our show, who I think is really fantastic, who's been on Pro Box TV, is Angelo Leo. He's fantastic. I mean, his only losses to Stephen Fulton at 122, and he's been on a tear since then. I mean, knocking everybody out, great body shots, highlight reel KOs. Ray Ford, like we said, is moving up. Robesi Ramirez is coming back on the Miami card down here, which I'm going to be calling with our man Joe Tess.
Oh, dude, yeah. Let's talk. I wanted you to say it first. They're excited to have you, bro. They're excited. They kept talking about, we can't wait to have Chris. You, Joe Tess, Kriegel, Bernardo. You're going to be calling Teofimo Claggett main card ESPN. Round of applause.
Slow clap. Yeah. I'm looking forward to it. I'm really excited to call a fight with Joe and work with the team. Unfortunately, I can't do like the whole fight week because I do have to call fights the night before in DC, championship card for Pro Box, but coming in that day and going to work with everybody. But, I told them at the deal, I'm like, guys, I'm sorry, I can only come in that day. And I was speaking to the ESPN guys, and they're like, yeah, you'll be fine. It's okay. As long as, as long as you make the flight, then we're good. So I'll show up and do what I do, and I'm looking forward to it, man. I'm really looking forward to working with the whole ESPN crew. I love all those guys. I've been working with them on the international side for a very long time, so I know them all really well. But it's going to be cool to be literally sitting next to Joe Tess calling fights.
I even told Teofimo. I had so many interactions this weekend that I'm forgetting some. Teofimo shows up to the BWAA dinner in a blazer wife beater combination, or guinea tea, I should say. Even that's derogatory to us guineas. And a tank top, and he takes the blazer off at one point. Bill Haney got an award for Manager of the Year. Teofimo was making a lot of noise during Bill Haney's speech because he hates the Haneys. He's just a live wire. He's going back and forth to the, eating over there, just running around like a lunatic. And I corralled him at one point.
Live wire is a good way to put it. I like that one.
He's a live wire, bro. And I corralled him at one point because me and Teofimo used to be friends. Like, we would text, we would hang out. But I guess when you beat Lomachenko, you are on another playing field, and you're too cool for Dan Kenobi. That's fine. But I was talking to him, catching up. And I was like, hey, bro, I was like, Algieri's calling your fight on the 29th. And he was like, oh, shit, I didn't know that. That's pretty sick. Like, pretty cool. So, yeah, bro, I'm always advocating, and I'm spreading the word. And Teofimo's even looking forward to you calling the fight.
I've called a bunch of Tio's fights, for the international top rank cards. And, I love Teofimo fight weeks. I truly, I think I've actually probably said this on air. I definitely said this in interviews. My favorite fighter to call is Teofimo Lopez. I've called so many of his fights.
You don't know what you're going to get.
Yeah, but also fight week is wild. Live wire. I'm using that from now on. I'm probably gonna use that on air. And Teofimo is a live wire, and he's like that during fight week. His dad is a character, and I like his dad a lot. I've hung out with him before. Hung out with all those guys. They're fun people. They make fight week a lot of fun. There's a lot of news stories, and then obviously he's as good as he is. So. And he does so many technical things really well, and he's a super athlete as well. So being able to call his fights is always been a lot of fun for me. So it's gonna be cool to call this one, and we'll see what happens on fight week. There's always some craziness going on with a Teofimo fight week.
He might have to drum it up because it's not like a
nobody
fight.
cares about the Claggett per se.
Right away, I was like, yo, what up, Tio? And he's like, yeah, man, just got another fight coming up. He went right into promoter mode. He's like, yeah, man, I'm just waiting for June 29th. I was like, bro, I'm not interviewing you. I'm just saying what's up. And he's like, Claggett's gonna come forward and I'm gonna knock him out. I was like, okay. I mean, that's what they're banking on, Claggett coming forward and Teofimo getting a big stoppage and kind of putting his chest out. Yeah, but that was Teofimo. Little Teofimo aside. But back to Carrington. I think 126 is ripe. I think Top Rank wants to move him. Stoppage helps in New York. Dude, a lot of fans were out there for Carrington. I got a text from someone asking me.
He's a local boy, man. He's been around forever.
On a Puerto Rican Day weekend, I was assuming 80-20, Puerto Ricans to Carrington fans. I would say it was 60-40.
Wow.
There are a lot of Bruce Carrington fans in there. He's got a nice fan base here, and Top Rank knows how to maximize New York fighters. So he's gonna be moved. I think we're gonna get into the Bruce Carrington era now, where Top Rank, this is what Top Rank does. If one guy's going out the door, say Shakur Stevenson, they got as much as they could out of him. All right, Bruce Carrington, you're up. We'll put you main event. We'll push the hell out of you. We'll put you on ESPN. You got this Inoue angle it's premature. I think every fan out there knows that it's premature, but it works. That picture is going to be pasted all over Instagram of him bowing and then Inoue waving to him, and then until they fight one day. And if Inoue goes to 126 and Carrington does what he has to do at 126 and stay there, then they probably will fight one day in 2 or 3 years.
I mean, age-wise, she's right in the right spot. I'm looking at the rankings right now, and most of these guys are 30 and above. Lee Wood's 35. I don't know how much we're going to see left of him. You got the 27-year-olds: Brandon Figueroa, Nick Ball, and Ruben Villa, and Bruce. Those are some names. Those are 4 really, really tough guys that are kind of in that same situation. But even Robeisy Ramirez is 30. I wouldn't think he was that old. Angelo Leo, 30. Luis Alberto Lopez, 30. These smaller weights, those ages start to matter a lot quicker. So interesting. I'm thinking about it. Shushu's right there. It's awesome.
Shushu. I know. I'm not holding it against him, his age. I was just surprised that he was 27. He moves like a 21, 22-year-old.
But it's also because he has so few fights. He's got 12 fights.
Exactly. So he's going to get moved fast. Some quick news and notes before we talk Tank Frank and all that. Ryan Garcia arrested in Los Angeles at a fancy hotel caused $15,000 worth of damage. He also was public intoxication, has that charge on him. He's been released. He also got evaluated for mental stuff. I've heard that it was a welfare check earlier this week on him. I mean, we have been talking about this guy's mental health for, it seems like, a year now. The fight is over. The drug test is out. That's not resolved, but it's looming. His mom apparently has breast cancer. We just know so much about this kid's life, and it's clear that he's spiraling. He gets arrested. He's shown in handcuffs. It's on TMZ. This is the time where, okay, you're not fighting anytime soon. Just there needs to be like somebody to step in, like go to rehab and just take a breather, kid. Like, it's okay. Like, take a breather. We're all worried about you at this point.
Apparently thinks he's Nikki Sixx from Motley Crue and just start ripping up hotel rooms and I've
always wanted to do that once though.
Normal rock star thing. But dude,
think about doing it at the MGM this weekend.
Can we stop with the mental health thing? It's just such a crutch for these guys. Like, yeah, your life is hard. Guess what? You're a multimillionaire. Making money's hard. Being successful is really hard, But I mean, you can't.
But he has I think he's like legitimately manic depressed. Like, he has like a disorder.
I mean, I don't know that. You don't know that. We don't know that.
I've heard from pretty good sources. I don't want to run with it, but I've heard it is more than just like, hey, I'm so famous. I'm so hot. I have all these girls. I don't know which one to be with. I honestly think there's like an imbalance.
Yeah, but when it's hard to root for him when he goes on there and be like, how hard it is to make $100 million. It's like, whoa, whoa, you're not endearing.
I'm trying.
You're not endearing fans on that one, buddy. But no, it's a lot of this. He needs someone around him it doesn't seem like he has anyone. I mean,
nothing
that really has, his ear, and that's tough. That's tough being a young, rich, successful guy. I always said, like, I made a lot of money when I was 30, and I was like, oh, you're so good with your money. I was like, yeah, I was 30. If I was 20, I probably would have been a real asshole, so I'm not knocking him at all. It's not easy, but I don't know. This is why you need to have important people around you. Andre Ward always talked about, having Virgil and having his pastor and having those, people around him, and his father, or, until he didn't, but, having that memory. And it just doesn't seem like Ryan has that. And it's unfortunate.
I know. And that's just like another bad headline. It was on SportsCenter last night when I got back from the fights. It was like a quick little 5-second thing. Ryan Garcia was arrested, and, the win was cool, and it lasted like a week or two.
Yeah,
and
it
was right on.
We were in Vegas, like talking about it, and then it came out that he popped
the drugs.
Here we go.
Yeah, it's just been now just bad headline after bad headline, and I don't think he's fighting anytime soon. So take this time. Not that he's listening to us or
not stopping him from calling anybody out though, or everybody out.
No, his tweets are great.
Everybody wins a fight, he calls out.
I saw some crazy tweets like, they're going to Epstein him. They got him. He's never going to leave jail. I'm like, he's home already. All right. But he's got this, like, that whole crazy conspiracy community on his side. And they saw that he gets arrested and immediately goes to, like, Jeffrey Epstein. And, like, he's never going to leave prison now. And we're never going to see him again. He's out.
He's already out. He's already home.
He's already home. Like, just get this kid some help. He's not fighting anytime soon. I do want to see him fight again. I mean, we've seen guys pop for PEDs and they get the penalty. The fans can think what they want, and then they fight again.
And we've also seen guys act wild outside of the ring and in between fights. This is not that foreign. This is guys. And he's just boxing,
there, bro. Right?
We're fighters.
He'll probably benefit from all this. He'll benefit from all this, Chris. I'm sure he'll get. Well,
that's why I mentioned Nikki Sixx and Motley Crue. It's like, yeah, this is a rock star move. This is what rock stars did and were known for. It's not really known for boxers so much, but. I mean,
what do you think about me? What do you think about me trashing the room in MGM?
I think you should do it. I think it'll be a good headline. I think it'll
for the show's sake.
It's probably not going to help you professionally in terms of like getting gigs and getting jobs because now you're a liability. But you're probably going to meet some cool girls who are going to want to have fun. That's
what it's all about for Dan these days. It's also my card.
Dan, the wild man.
Single Dan. Put it out there right now. First, everyone knows Single Dan. I do put my card down for incidentals, and I think it's like 150.
Dude,
So
that's all right.
I can't do a $15,000, but I'll do a $150. I'll like take maybe one of the pillows, rip the pillowcase.
Dude, you know what? I'll
eat one of the cookies.
I'll foot the bill. Do some damage. Get it done. I'll pay for that. I think this is a good investment for you and your future. I mean, go for it. Motley Crue.
You're flying out. You're flying out. I think I'm the last one standing in Vegas for this trip. Mitch is leaving. You're flying. I think I'm the last one to leave. So maybe that final night, I'll be so bored that I'll do that.
Blow out the room. Just wipe out the mini bar and just rip the place up.
Although some PPV people are going to the Sphere on Friday night for Dead & Co.
For what?
John Mayer, Dead & Co.
I don't know.
Which is like Grateful Dead cover, some of the Grateful Dead band and John Mayer.
That's interesting. That's cool.
I'm undecided. By Friday night, I'm kind of done. These trips are fun, but they are a lot of work. Perfect segue. Let's talk. We're not going to get too deep in this because we're going to do 2 episodes while in Las Vegas.
A ton of stuff out there.
We're doing a live show Thursday with guests. We're doing a live show Friday after the weigh-in. We're going to be pumping out. In-Ring Breakdown is dropping on Tuesday. I was just watching it before this and cutting up some clips. Chris, you're freaking awesome at that. The slip and rip from Tank. Frank's footwork. We did a Benavides video. That's coming out too. So it's fight week. It's PPV fight week. So you're going to get a ton of content from us and pay-per-view giveaways too. We're going to give away pay-per-view 5 or 10. I haven't decided yet. Maybe 10 pay-per-views. I felt like Trump right there. 5, 10. I haven't decided yet. A lot of pay-per-views.
Some say it's the best podcast in the boxing world.
Some say I'm giving away 5. Some say I'm giving away 10 pay-per-views. We're giving away a lot of pay-per-views.
I don't know. I haven't said that. People have said that we're the best boxing.
People have said it. People have told me. Yeah, have come up to me. Overview. Tank. It's been a year. It's been more than a year.
Oh, I know.
I'll ask you this. It's been over a year. This is a guy that depends on timing. This is a guy that is a counterpuncher, probably the best counterpuncher in boxing. He's a guy that throws 30 punches around, if that. Throw 15. Throw 10, if he really wants to.
He sometimes only needs to throw 1.
Right. He's the first punch he landed on Ryan Garcia knocked him down in the second round. It's my favorite stat ever. Will he be rusty? Timing-wise. It's been over a year. Counterpuncher. I'm just thinking big picture questions right now.
Absolutely. No question. Based on his style, being out of the ring, being active. One of the things about the Ryan Garcia fight with Tank was he had just fought. He had fought Hector Luis Garcia, which is very close. I thought that was really surprising that he was willing to take that fight prior to the Ryan Garcia fight, but actually turned out to be a good thing because he was active and he was pretty sharp that night, very sharp that night. So yes, is it going to cause him to be a little bit rusty? I believe so. I don't think anyone's immune to that, but he's got game-changing power. And it would bother me more if Frank Martin were actually busier.
Right.
But he too hasn't been as that active. A lot of PBC fighters are not very active. So Frank, he hasn't fought in a year either. So they're both coming off. They're both going to be a little bit rusty. And Frank is a technician and he works behind his jab and he's got good movement. He got good footwork. And obviously we know what Tank is. Tank is much more of a counterpuncher, sets traps and walks you into detonation. But it's going to be interesting early on. It might be a little bit slow. Because both guys are coming off of long layoffs. But again, I don't think anyone holds an advantage there because they've both been off a year.
And the thing with Frank is like someone asked me last night. I was like, "Do you think Frank's got? Your nephew? It's like, do you think Frank has a chance?" I was like,
"Yeah,
I don't know. Like, he's not. I think, yeah, of course, because he's dangerous. But like, is he gonna? This is probably. I don't know how to look at this. Is he gonna push the pace? Is he gonna be? I wouldn't say reckless aggression, but like Ryan Garcia had reckless aggression. Like he had some success in those early rounds, and then he's like, all right, I'm gonna just keep throwing this right hand, and then got timed. Like I don't think Frank is reckless. I think he's very fundamental. But as you say in this breakdown I was watching that we did, it's like, can Frank push the pace? Like can he if he goes tit for tat, punch for punch with Davis, he's going to lose. That's what Davis wants. So is he going to throw 50, 60 punches? That's not who Frank Martin is. I'm very curious to see how he fights this fight, because I think it's one of the livest and most game opponents that Tank has fought, right? You can always poke a hole in Tank's opponents. Like Ryan Garcia was weight trained and not ready for that moment. Hector Garcia was a 130-pounder moving up, who was obviously not ready for that moment. Leo Santa Cruz was a featherweight. Barrios, I like the Barrios win. That win's aging well. But this is
it was
legit,
cool because he just jumped up and fought such a much bigger guy.
And he those knockouts in that fight were those
and
knockdowns.
Knocked out a guy that Keith Thurman couldn't knock out.
Bro, those knockdowns were sick. Like, I'm thinking about, probably gonna make like my top 3 favorite. I'm gonna actually ask Tank, what are your favorite knockouts? Like, I gotta come up with some Tank questions. Him, when he fought Barrios, the way he turns over his punches, it's such a freaking amazing thing to watch. I'm just so excited for Tank. I love watching him fight. It seems like he is like more willing to do media. Like his press, we weren't there.
No, I was actually going to say that earlier when you're talking about these guys. He's definitely been a lot more fun with media and dealing with questions and fielding things and, actually having fun with it. So that's cool to see at this stage of his career, who used to be a really tight-lipped guy. And now he's like
5 years ago,
kind of showing himself. Yeah.
5 years ago, I kind of would be a little like, I'm not intimidated by anyone. Like, I'll go up to any fighter and ask any question. 5 years ago, I don't know. I feel like he'd be liable to say anything to me. He'll be liable if I ask him a silly
to get
nothing.
Out of his fucking face. Yeah.
Yeah. If I ask him one of these questions, that I've asked like Canelo or any of these fighters
or
that
Devin,
I talk
Devin
with.
Haney, you got a good response
Right.
to that.
Let's see, Chris. When we do that, I think we're setting up a thing where we're going to go down into the bowels of the MGM Grand, where it's just like one-on-one. You got to come and watch me. Watch me in my element.
Watch him cook. I got to watch him cook.
Yeah, it's crazy. Like the Canelo drip clip has hit 7 million on TikTok and like another 6 or 7 million on Instagram. It's probably the most viewed clip we've ever done. It's
awesome.
It's just like you, man. Like you beat Provodnikov. What's next? Like I get my 15 million clip.
How do you beat this?
How do you beat that? Like how do I beat drip?
Dan, you got to do what I couldn't do. You got to go on to beat Pacquiao. So you just got to keep getting bigger and bigger. Write that shit down. Boom. That's it. You got to beat that man there. That bobbling head Filipino.
You were probably part of. Look, he's at the Giants. He's part of the.
That was our fight.
Giants.
That was our fight.
Yeah.
I still have my Giants jersey with my name on it from somewhere. When I crushed him in the home run derby contest, which was funny because Freddie's like, he was telling all the media, he's like, Chris grew up a suburb in Long Island and never swung a baseball bat. And I went there and was like,
what?
Who made that up?
Where did you get that from, Freddie?
Where'd you get that
Sternberg.
from? Then I asked him, and
I
go, Freddie, do you want me to swing righty or lefty? And he looked at me like, "What?" And I was like, "Dude, I can go either way. Do you want me to smoke him right now, or do you want me to like just barely beat him? Because
Chris,
I can choose.
Go either way. Algieri, love that. Pause. Let's end the show there. Tank versus Frank, gonna be fun. Benavidez, there's people out there that think Vazik's gonna win. I just don't see that. I'm interested to see Benavidez at 175.
Teddy Atlas has been pushing Vazdik.
Yeah, because he trained him.
I know.
Come on, you guys are like sometimes like you got to just take it with a grain of salt. Like,
yeah,
you don't do this, but a lot of fighters when they kind of gravitate towards the fighting style that they had when they watch fight. That's why everyone's like, "Oh, fighters should be judges," and I say no because a lot of fighters are friends with the fighters. A lot of fighters are biased in terms of what they believe is the correct way to fight. Don't believe in that. So when I hear Teddy Atlas think that Vazik's going to beat Benavidez, no.
He's being.
I get it. Makes for good content.
I get it.
I just think we think the world of Benavidez. Yeah, I'm curious to see what he looks like at 175. I'm curious to see if the power and speed and all that translates. That's fun. Co-main event. We'll get into a lot more later in the week. Carlos Adames is fighting Terrell Gausha. I'm happy for Adames. He's now the full WBC champ at middleweight. Gary Antoine Russell versus Alberto Puello, which is just a fun fight at 140.
Puello, another
good
guy
card.
who popped for steroids recently, a couple years ago.
Right, and he just like took a year off, and now he's on a pay-per-view. And then I think the free Amazon portion is finally Elijah Garcia, who's just snake bitten. I think is finally getting in there with Kyrone Davis. That fight's been like cursed. Fun fight. We're heading out Wednesday. We'll have so much more for you. Just wall-to-wall coverage. If you're a listener of this show, you know
Nobody does it like we do.
Week.
Nobody has as much fun on Fight Week as we do. No one delivers as much hard-hitting content as we do. So
It's
don't I'm stating facts right now. This is objective measures. Nobody does it like we do.
It's true, because what I hear from our colleagues, people that we respect in the business, it's like, oh, I really love your Fight Week coverage, like the POVs and the breakdowns and being there. Like, we've got that down, and I'm really proud of it. So we're headed out to Vegas once again, and we do what we do, baby. Another excellent. I just said excellent. Excellent. Oh, that's another thing. Carl Moretti of Top Rank he made a comment to me about how I just butcher the English language on every podcast. So he's listening.
No, he's listening. That's cool. That's my guy, Carl.
I was like, how is it that Algieri has a better brain than me? He's in the ring.
Better
he's
memory,
like, what's the word you
better
said?
pronunciation.
He's like, what's the word you said last week? Measuring stick? Something. I messed up some phrase, and he was laughing at me because I was like, hey, we're ready. I was like, one day I'm going to be on that desk on the ESPN. I was like, I'm telling you right now, I'm manifesting it. He's like, I don't know, man. I've heard you on the show, on the podcast. You really butcher the English language. I was like,
Dan's like, I manifested it. I mean, fested it.
yeah, manifest. I'm gonna be up on that stage one day. I am. Dan. I am gonna be on that stage one day. Chris is gonna be on that stage June 29th because that's
couple weeks.
That's how we roll. That's how we roll, baby. All right, keep your hands up at all times. Protect yourselves at all times. Stay out of those DMs. We see you in Vegas. Good night.